Ladies and gentlemen, pay attention. This is your boy, the coach from the WWE. I would like to welcome you to the very first wrestling podcast in the world to take you on a weekly deep dive into classic matches along with legends of the squared circle. Enjoy the discussion. Enjoy the back and forth. There's so much to get into. Ladies and gentlemen, this is The Payoff.
Jeff, it's my favorite time of the year. It's WrestleMania season, and we're covering Mr. WrestleMania. But first, how the hell are you doing?
I'm doing good, man. This is exciting. You know, another week of the payoff. Can't complain about that. Of course, we had AEW. I believe still calling it pay-per-view Revolution. We've got, we're next thing is WrestleMania. So we've got 4 weeks really, or 3.5 weeks at this point till the big show. So I'm ready.
Me too.
Yeah.
And the reason that I wanted to cover this match, let me just go first and you can share yours. But,
sure.
This is the return of Shawn Michaels. And so, we thought maybe, we certainly thought he'd never wrestle again. Then we thought maybe he'd do a one-off against, Triple H, but that would be it. And now it turns out that he's back and he's in the Royal Rumble and has a championship reign. And then here he is at WrestleMania. And just remember, historically, he was not Mr. WrestleMania prior to his comeback run. Mm-hmm. Okay. Mr. WrestleMania was earned because of Jericho, because of the Benoit Triple H match, because of the Vince match, because of the Flair match, because of the Taker matches, right? And I don't remember what year he started calling himself Mr. WrestleMania, but it wasn't, before he wrestled Steve Austin at 14. It was because of this return. And my God, we'll get into it during the match, but it was just one classic after another when he came back. So I'm excited to cover this one. What about you?
Yeah, same thing. This was in honor of you, really, all these Shawn Michaels matches. We've actually got a couple, and not because we set out to cover a bunch of Shawn Michaels matches. This is actually the first of 3 that we will be covering on the road and a little after. But it's because, like you said, he is Mr. WrestleMania. Like he puts on good ones. You touched on one where we are going to talk about 14 in a couple of weeks here. We've got the WrestleMania 11 with Diesel coming up as well too, after actual WrestleMania. And so, it's hard to not, like you said, this is kind of while Michaels had been around for a while, of course he had been different personas and things like that with, the Rockers and stuff like that. This is really where like you said, it starts taking shape a little bit here. And we really start to kind of see what's going on, who he, like that kind of persona and stuff like that. And this is, outside of, I think if I'm correct, outside of The Undertaker, he's got the best WrestleMania, or not the best WrestleMania record, but he's wrestled more matches than anybody. So,
why do you bring that up? Because that's in my notes to cover that today.
All right, I won't spoil that. Okay, that's fine. And we've got that, but we'll get to that. All right, so we got stuff to talk about. Let's get into it then.
Let's get to the build.
Oh, it's time for the build.
All right, so WrestleMania 19, Seattle, Safeco Field. This was I'm going to say an underrated WrestleMania. There was just a lot to like here on this card. Definitely a fun atmosphere. It was really, I think, the first, major baseball stadium show. We had the Royal Rumble here in Phoenix. We had, I think Houston Minute Maid Park had a Royal Rumble. So we've done other shows at ballparks, at baseball stadiums, but this is the first one. So it just had a really unique, interesting feel to it. And a really just a great atmosphere. So that's one of the things I always remember. March 30th, 2003, 54,000 in attendance, pay-per-view buy rate of 560,000. Dark match was Chief Morley and Lance Storm, your tag team champions, defeating Kane and Rob Van Dam in 7 minutes. So Kane and Rob Van Dam, 2 Hall of Famers, would be in the dark match of this WrestleMania. We open up with a Cruiserweight Championship match of Rey Mysterio losing to your champion Matt Hardy in only 5 minutes. So I like the idea of putting these guys out first, but could have given them more than 5 minutes. Then, probably not the worst Undertaker WrestleMania match of all time, but potentially the second worst behind Giant Gonzalez. We had the Undertaker being accompanied with Nathan Jones defeating Big Show and A-Train in a handicap tag match in 10 minutes. Rumor was Nathan Jones was supposed to be in this match, but was not ready for prime time. So they made it a handicap match. And just what a stupid idea all around. Hard to believe that we couldn't get, a better matchup for the Undertaker during this era. Trish Stratus would defeat Victoria and Jazz to become the women's champion, defeating Victoria's championship reign in 7 minutes. Team Angle, which was Charlie Haas and Shelton Benjamin, of course, they retained their tag team championships against Benoit and Rhino and Los Guerreros. So we got Benoit, on the undercard in a kind of throwaway match. We have the Undertaker in a shitty handicap match. You got Mysterio and Hardy in a 5-minute cruiserweight. So not off to the best start, and certainly the talent was there. But man, did things take a turn, because the next matchup was Shawn Michaels and Chris Jericho, and we're going to cover that one. So big time match. So talk about the tale of two shows here, right? So you have that undercard, which again, there's some talent on there, but not the best booking. Then we go into Shawn Jericho. From there, we go to Triple H and Booker T. Not the greatest match or rivalry, and a lot of people were pissed off about the booking, but we are going to get, two Hall of Famers in the ring for a championship. Then Hulk Hogan defeating Mr. McMahon in a really, really fun street fight. Then we get The Rock defeating Steve Austin in Steve Austin's final match. Then we get Brock Lesnar winning the championship as a baby face. That was the botched shooting star press, of course. So what a really interesting show. Pretty well received, so a couple of 3 stars, a 4.25, a 4, another 4.25. So really good show. But, if you just reshuffled the deck a little bit, this could have probably been a classic WrestleMania. You think of the guys that you had on the card but didn't use. Dudley Boys didn't even wrestle in a match. They accompanied Chief Morley and Lance Storm. You had Kane and Rob Van Dam, Matt Hardy and Rey Mysterio, The Undertaker, Benoit. So you had all those guys in the undercard. I don't know what you would have done differently, but, think about, gosh, if you could have done something with Van Dam and Benoit, that could have been fun. Or a 4-way with Hardy and Mysterio, or thrown them all into a Money in the Bank match, right? So it's just interesting that the talent was there for this to be an all-time classic WrestleMania, but still, what a barn burner of a final 5 matches. Storyline standpoint, Jeff, I know these guys built up really well to this. How did we get to this match?
Yeah, it's weird because when we were pulling this up, this match, it's literally just over an hour into the show, which feels super weird to even say that. And then also a little bit of jump ahead here a little bit, on the best matches, Meltzer, kind of the newsletter and the rankings on this one, they had 5 matches that at least got some kind of score for the best match poll. This match coming out on top, but it's really weird. Just like you said, it was almost like it was spread out really well. And after this match, Vince and Hogan wasn't a 5-star match. I wouldn't expect it to be, but everything was at least pretty good to above average. So, and of course, everybody remembers how it ended with Brock, but still. So this is one I almost feel like it's sneaky. Like, just kind of, it's in the mid, not even barely, it's in the front half or front third of a card, so it's just kind of weird. So, but we rewind a little bit on this one, actually, to the end of 2003. And so this was, and we keep talking about this match. It needs to get on our list sooner than later here, of Michaels losing the title to Triple H at Armageddon. And so this was, of course, the 3 stages of hell match that we always, I feel like it comes up all the time. But Triple H beating him, of course, it was stage 1. That was the street fight, which Triple H won. You had the cage match, which Michaels won that one. And then the ladder match was Triple H winning that. And so that is kind of starting at that point. And then you had Jericho, starting to feud with Michaels at this point. It would really kind of started with the highlight reel, his talking segment, kind of, the in-ring, what they were doing and stuff like that. And that Jericho kind of telling Michaels at this point that like he had idolized Triple H, yeah, he had idolized Michaels, that he was, they kind of looked up to him, but also that he was washed up at this point. And so, kind of played out, at first through some kind of interview segments and what was happening. And kind of showing us that was the start of the payoff on this one. And we get into at this point. Now we get into Royal Rumble season. You have Jericho eliminating Michaels from the Royal Rumble. And so with that, you got kind of played out over the next couple of weeks of how this played out was, that on the January 6th episode of Raw, Jericho and Michaels argued over who was going to be the number 1 into the match. So the following week, Jericho beat Batista, Kane, and Rob Van Dam. It was over the rope challenge, won that. And so he was able to pick his entry number because Michaels was already number 1. Jericho took number 2. And so he took this because, and it's just like nowadays, like you don't know who number 1's going to be. You don't always know what's going to happen here, but chose number 2 because he wanted to start the match with Michaels. And so that, he had, of course, they had the little bit of back and forth. There was a little bit of tussles here and there, but that Jericho, such a big part of this was Jericho claiming that he was better than Michaels. And so you had this one. So after he came in, Jericho entered second. It was actually it was a little weird, but Christian, he was actually in Jericho's attire, appeared, and then you had Jericho attacking Shawn Michaels from behind, and so that eliminating him. But then you also had Michaels, and this will play into the aftermath a little bit here. Michaels actually later in the match, Test eliminated Jericho, so he was a part of that as well too, and kind of distraction, and so. That Rumble, though, that was Jericho spent the most time over anybody that year in the Rumble. And so he had a good showing, kind of starting, putting him over, I guess, at this point, like, get the good show and stuff like that. And so, like I said, there was also this Jericho feud with Tess. There was Michaels, there was Jeff Hardy. And so a little bit of back and forth. There was a match at No Way Out where Jericho kind of won that one. And so, again, really just, having this back and forth, the Rumble, Jericho saying he's not good enough, like just a lot of moving pieces on this one, but it made, I say, logical sense from the end of the year. You had, Michaels, I say, needing a new feud, kind of getting out of the Triple H one. Royal Rumble was like, didn't happen this year necessarily, but Royal Rumble is a good place to start a feud. And so we even have a couple months build, nothing wrong with that. And so a lot of good things happening here to get us to this match.
Simple.
Yep.
Powerful build.
Yep. Doesn't
good
need
enough,
more than
right?
That. Yep. Doesn't need more than that.
Let's get into this one. 1 hour and 8 minute mark of WrestleMania 19. That's the 1 hour and 8 minute mark of WrestleMania 19. Jeff, are you ready?
Before we start, I'm just going to say, you've got, I know I don't always stop you, but I have to say it because I've noticed it that Michaels, like we've got it paused right now and it's all framed up. We're ready to go here. But I got to say, Michaels, like he's looking good in this shot. I'm assuming you're looking at the same one right here. And like just that the sculpted chest. And I don't know, like they weren't around at this time, but dude looks like he doesn't even need Manscaped. But I'm sure if he that would be who he would go with if he needed it, because dude looks great. I don't know what you think about
you bring up an interesting question. I would assume that most of the boys in the locker room in the WWE and the AE dub probably use a Manscaped product and are probably doing it a couple nights a week, right?
Why wouldn't you? Like it'd make a ton of sense. I know there was that terrible,
like you travel with it, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely. And so, but like having that, you throw it in a little bag, you're good to go. Like you could have all this stuff in there. And so why wouldn't they? It's not like that a revival segment where they were shaving each other in the shower. Like, get real. Like that's not, so, but for all of you listeners out there, if you want to look as good as Shawn Michaels, if you want to be Mr. WrestleMania in your own house, like now is the time to order. You could get it before WrestleMania. You're looking at all kinds of different products. Tom and I, we are no bullshit. I know you hear it every week from us, but we love this stuff. We order everything they have. It's absolutely worth the money. And what you can use is our code PAYOFF20 and get 20% off and free shipping. Make sure to check it out. It's absolutely worth it.
All right.
Now I'm ready, buddy.
I'm ready too. Thanks for plugging our shit.
Of course.
It's time for the payoff.
Ho! It's time for the payoff.
Shawn Valid Hall of Famer. There is such a thing.
Got the HBK chant. Yep.
That just feels big.
Working the crowd, man. Hot crowd. All chant for him.
Long hair Jericho.
Yep. Dude, we got the red and black, my favorite tights.
He's looking great. Yep.
Still got the tights on. We're not in the baggy pants because of the knee brace stage yet.
Nope.
Dude, this is like some of my favorite ring gear I think he's ever worn.
Jericho's well too.
I love those. Those are awesome. Just the old school Shawn. Man, those are great.
That's what you need. Even a lot of time when you think of Shawn Michaels, it's the chaps and, doing the pose and then like this kind of look, like just looking, it looks great out there too. And so,
yeah, this match, I mean, just watch like Jericho's demeanor, watch his facial reactions. I mean, look, I don't want to be too dramatic and say, hey, this match made Chris Jericho. Cause look, he was a star before this match and he did many other things before and after this, but dude, this match was really important, I think, in the Jericho thing. It certainly won me over. And absolutely, the contrast of these two guys, and I just thought this was phenomenal. So let's enjoy this one. Again, I talked about it before, but Shawn Michaels was not Mr. WrestleMania really until these series of matches, and you think, his body of work pre back injury, it was impressive. Yeah. You had the ladder match, you had the Iron Man match, Rockers had some good matches, but dude, it's when he came back and it's the two Undertaker matches. It's the Angle match. It's the triple threat in Madison Square Garden with Triple H and Benoit. I mean, those four matches right there, classics, right? Yeah. I think that Angle match, I know we watched it and I watched it by myself once or twice in the last few years. If someone told me that the Shawn Angle match was their favorite match ever, I'd have no issue with that at all. I'd have to really sit down and think about it, but I might put that in my top 5 all-time favorite matches. That thing was just a fucking barn burner of a match. There was just so much to like there. But, you had Shawn and Cena, which is kind of a throwaway match. You don't even think about that one, just because of so many other classics. But that was a hell of a match. And the Flair one, I mean, just, maybe not the most athletic, but the drama of that one. And I was there. It was incredible. And the Vince McMahon match was really, really good. That was a fun brawl. So anyways, just so many great matches once he came back. Michael's kind of, diving. Yep. Slide kick. Yep. Getting Jericho. So we touched on it before here. I'll let you start kind of, the Mr. WrestleMania. I've got some notes here in regards to appearances and matches. I've also got some records for like, how everybody has performed in WrestleMania. I'll let you start though. Well, I was curious about it. Obviously the Undertaker 25-2 all time. Yep. Will that ever change? Who knows? Yeah. Could he finish at 26-2? Who knows? Yep. But yeah, that, then there's just such a steep drop off. I mean, The Undertaker has 25 WrestleMania wins. The next two guys have 10.
Yep.
He has over double the wins of anyone else, which is just crazy. Cena 10-5, Triple H 10-13. So, Triple H at least close there with 23 appearances. I think that's second most all time. Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah. Appearances, Triple H is number 2. Yes.
Yeah. And then wins wise, Kane's fourth with 9. Hogan, Edge, and Bret Hart each have 8. Savage and Orton have 7. So Shawn Michaels is not even in the top 10 of WrestleMania wins, yet he has probably half of the top 10 matches of all time, and plenty of great moments.
Here's what I find. The 6 wrestlers with the top 6 that have the most appearances. And here's the trivia for those of you out there. The top 6 wrestlers have the most appearances at WrestleMania. All but one have a losing record.
That's wild.
So, which like putting the guy, and of course it is The Undertaker at 25-2, but then you got Triple H is 10-13. Kane is 9-11. Michaels, which I was actually surprised when I pulled this number up. He's he's 6-11. Like he's actually got one of the almost like the worst record here. The Big Show's at 5-12, which also isn't good. And Randy Orton's at 6-10. And so I'm almost wondering, like, as I was putting my notes together here, like, is it going out on your back in these scenarios? Like, he's Mr. WrestleMania at this point, but he's lost a lot of these. And so like, spoiler here, we're about to get one in the W column, but like how does this, is that how it needs to be the star at WrestleMania? Like, is it maybe you got to start looking at these guys that aren't winning everything, but putting on a good match instead? Like, what thoughts do you have?
Well, that's the classic question of do wins and losses matter in pro wrestling?
Yep.
And I think the truth is somewhere in the middle, right? There's some people that'll go, of course it matters, and perception is reality. And, the other half will go, it's a work, who gives a shit. I'm kind of in the middle. I think that, it actually does matter a little bit. I mean, it's not, you can have lost, half your big matches of all time and still be a star. But okay, if you prescribe to the theory of, hey, wins and losses don't matter. Well, Jeff, when's the last time Roman Reigns lost?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. He's been completely dominant. Now, has his stock gone up? Yes. Has he sold more merchandise? Yes. Is he the biggest star in the company? Certainly regular star, but yeah, probably. So, that's what's so funny about it is you go, oh, it's just a work. Who cares that wins and losses don't matter? Yet we've given Roman Reigns one of the most dominant reigns of all time. And look what's happened. He's become a significantly bigger star, which begs the question, not that you necessarily can put a strap on a guy for 600 days all the time, but Jeff, wouldn't we create more stars and bigger matches if we didn't go 50-50 booking, if we didn't flip titles all the time, if we didn't give guys 3 to 6 month reigns before pulling the plug on that? Like, would Drew McIntyre be a bigger star now if he didn't lose for a full year after he defeated Lesnar?
Yeah, it's really interesting because like you said, to your point of just like Jericho with a great springboard, taking Michaels to the outside there. Yeah, like kind of looking at it from this perspective. And I would argue, like you said, it has made Reigns a bigger star, but like in what, how are you defining that too? Because like I'm not a fan of Reigns, like, and so, but also like who else do you give it to? Like that, yeah, there's that piece of it as well. And so while he's getting the wins on the big stage, like it's not making me a bigger fan of him. I know that's not his fault necessarily, but I think that kind of speaks to that. While, the star power it's interesting how you look at it too, because to me, sure. He is the biggest draw, but I'm not his biggest fan.
Yeah.
I think, you got to consider that. So, Yeah, so you got that, but interesting. So Michael's kind of, I say, going on his back here, this 6-11 appearance, and so, but and so I named some of those guys. You have obviously have the Undertaker, you got Triple H, Kane, Shawn Michaels, The Big Show, Randy Orton, Cena, Bret Hart. That'd be like Jericho and Hogan are your like top 10 out of that crew. And I know I named a few out there. Like, is Shawn Michaels the Mr. WrestleMania? Like, should he have that title, or do you think somebody else in regards to their match quality should have that title instead?
Dude, I'll give you two answers to that. First of all, no, I don't think anybody touches Shawn Michaels in terms of the Mr. WrestleMania moniker. Obviously, the Undertaker streak has some, mystique to it, or did. I don't know if it still does. I guess it does. But, Taker also had a lot of shitty matches there. Okay. So, yes. Of the 27 matches, how many were great? 6, maybe. Both Triple H's, both Shawn Michaels were great. The Punk match was okay. The Reigns match sucked.
Well, and it's easy to point to Michaels, Triple H, Cena, like Orton as good ones, but yeah, then you've got some real crap in there too.
Yeah, So it's, he had 2 greats against Shawn. He had 3 great ones against Triple H. The Flair match was really good. So there's some good ones in there. Don't get me wrong, but by and large, the Batista match was really, really good. But you understand what I'm saying. So to me, Shawn Michaels' WrestleMania is my answer to that. I will tell you, though, and you've heard me say it on here before, the unsung Mr. WrestleMania, the other WrestleMania, is someone that we're covering next week, and that's Randy Savage. Obviously, the Steamboat match was out of this world, but the Warrior match was awesome. The Hogan match was awesome. Him winning the tournament was awesome. So he has some classic matches as well. I love the Flair match. I would have loved to have seen Randy Savage stay in the WWF simply because we would have gotten some more classic WrestleMania matches. Obviously, he wanted to wrestle Shawn Michaels. So can you imagine the two of them at WrestleMania? Mm-hmm. Can you imagine if Savage stuck around, a few years longer and you got Randy Savage versus Bret Hart at WrestleMania, Randy Savage versus Steve Austin, Randy Savage versus Shawn Michaels. You think about some of these matches, if he would have stuck around for a few more years, it really would have been something.
We get a little bit of sound on this one, actually. We had Jericho trying to do the pose. Michaels with the kip up. Everybody's on their feet.
Sending Jericho for the ride. High elevation again. Another back body drop. And Shawn Michaels, no matter how
I just love this setup. I'm telling you, I just thought for whatever reason, it just felt really, really big. And maybe that's because people are further away than they are at a football stadium. I don't know. But it just felt big. I love the angles of this one.
Well, and this is, and kind of watching Michaels, he's moving. He's up on the top rope now doing a moonsault. Is it going to be? Oh, close. Is he bleeding too? It looked like it. I couldn't tell. Yeah, a little bit there. But he's moving. Like, we've watched a lot of Shawn Michaels matches to this point. He is moving better than I think I've seen in probably 90% of his matches that we've watched. And so he looks in his prime at this point. Just going to roll.
This was the best. I thought the best he ever was this right around this time. The Triple H return match, the Elimination Chamber, the 3 stages of hell, this match. Again, it didn't really let up for 7 years or however long he was back, but yeah, it really started with this. How many times did Meltzer give Shawn Michaels 5 stars? Do you know?
Offhand, I don't. 2.
WrestleMania 10 ladder match and Undertaker Hell in the Cell.
Interesting. Okay.
That's it. Only 2 times.
He's less likely to give it to WWE. We know that. And so, yeah, but which, probably too few.
7 times he got 4 3/4 stars.
Which, I guess, yeah, who knows if,
9 more times he got 4.5 stars.
if Meltzer could have had an upset stomach that day and, gave him a quarter star less, which shitty, but yeah, who knows? So, yep.
You think we'll ever see Jericho in a WWE ring wrestling again?
I doubt it, actually. To this point, I think that there's the lion salt, but can't get the cover. I doubt it because I think Jericho he's doing exactly what he wants to do. He's putting young guys over, like, all the dirt sheets say, like, backstage, like, he's helping the younger guys. Like, you can kind of tell, like, he took Sammy Guevara under his wing a little bit here, and now Sammy's trying to get out a little bit, which I'm still not a fan of him. I just can't get behind him.
Sammy Guevara?
Yeah.
I like him more than you do, it sounds like.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. And so, but then also, like, he reinvented himself again. Like, we were there when he won the title that first time. And so, or the first title, and so, or not there, but we watched it, we were in Chicago. And so, yeah, I don't think that bridge is burnt, but I also don't think that, and there we go. He's got him in the lion tamer. I don't think he'll ever go back.
I would bet he wrestles in a WWF ring again.
Surprise Rumble entrant. So, well, and this is something we didn't talk about, like the Royal Rumble and all the rumors that were surrounding that week of Cody's going to show up and like Jeff Hardy and all that. Like we got worked pretty hard on like who was coming back for the Rumble. Like that was like I know avoided a lot of the dirt sheets. I read
any of it.
I stopped reading as of like Friday, and I'm glad because I missed that's when the Ronda rumors started hitting. And so, yeah, it was almost like comical, like Mickie James. But then I also read, obviously her being there, but I also read too, like they couldn't say Impact, but they could say Champion. Like they couldn't say TNA, but they could say like wrestling promotion. Like, it's so like, I get it. And so now they say, yeah, they didn't bust open any forbidden door. Like they kind of opened a door and walked through it very slowly. Jericho up on the top rope now, all the fans on their feet, waiting for Michaels to get up.
Let me tell you something. You mentioned like some of the things these guys are and are not allowed to say. But, it's $1 billion brand, and Vince is specific about the words he wants used. It's no different when you go to, you're going to Disney soon. What same thing, right?
Yep.
What do they call them? They call them
cast
characters?
Members. Cast members, not
cast members.
Yep.
Yeah. I mean, they have very particular verbiage. So Jericho just hit a
But Michael's own sweet chin music. Oh, what a way to lose it. Still didn't lose it.
It's funny how what used to be such a dramatic move is now a throwaway slap your leg move.
Yeah.
It's okay. I just like it better when
super kick party.
It meant something.
Yeah, but I'm with, and like that. Yeah, there's a lot of things that we don't like that Vince does, be it booking or some of those decisions, or they have record profits, and because they let half of their roster go. Like, yeah, I would, I could make money that way too. But I think it's also somewhat telling that we don't like that stuff. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff like you just said, like we overlook it because or we might hate it because it's Vince, but also like he's running the business. Like this shit hasn't changed. It's always been sports entertainment. That's the point.
I know in the moment it's easy to bag on the WWE for cutting these guys. How could you cut so and so? Like blah. I mean, I get it, but dude, they had and don't quote me on the exact number. I don't have it in front of me, but it's something like 6 months ago they had like 350 performers under contract. And it's like, okay, do we need 350? Well, no, we probably need to right size the organization to get down to 250 talents. Okay. Well, who do we get rid of? Well, let's look at who's making the most. Braun Strowman, he's making $1 million a year. And is anyone buying a ticket because of him? Not really. Hey, do we have anything for him creatively to do? Or because of his size, is he really hard to book? He's really hard to book. Can he cut a promo? It kind of sucks at promos. Okay, let's get rid of him.
Yep.
Bray Wyatt. again, I know it, like, why would you get rid of him? Well, maybe he was making too much money and he wasn't selling as much merch as we thought he was. And he was kind of a pain in the ass to deal with, So, I mean, some of these guys, you cut 100 guys. It's like, okay, well, we just cut, 15 million off the damn payroll at a time when we can't even tour or go anywhere. And we don't know how long this pandemic's going to last. And none of these guys that we got rid of moved the needle. They don't matter.
Well, and so many of them too, ref bump, almost. Nope. Oh, that was Jericho. That was an interesting move. You don't see that kick the referee into the rope so that Michaels fell on the top rope. Yeah, and so many of the wrestlers, they're going to do a lot of, some of them may not be, but there's a lot that will be fine. Like you've seen, their presence on social media, they're getting booked other places, which is good to see. You don't want anybody to lose their job type thing. But, also some of these people, they weren't going to have a run in WWE. And they just, it was not going to be their story. And so Michael's at the top rope now after kicking Jericho off. Huge elbow drop. Here we go. So we're going to tune it up.
And here's the original.
Well, it's like Mustafa Ali wanted cut.
It's Shawn Michaels with his own sweet chin music.
Oh, missed it. Good setup.
Bottom in the walls. I mean, place is going crazy. Everyone's up. I mean, it just shows you these two. I mean, there's no title on the line. It's not like this was some, years in the making rivalry. But I mean, people just lost themselves in this storyline and with these two. What a great match. But no, I was saying, Mustafa Ali, it's like he wants out of his contract. They won't let him. So it's just funny, okay, well then don't be under contract. It's like you can't. What's the perfect scenario here?
Yeah, and it's weird too. And I think part of where I have the disconnect is that, okay, they're still not doing anything with the people that are left necessarily, like the middle carders or anything like that. Okay, yes, we're right. They're not making stars. Okay, well, that's been a problem since before they released those people, and that's on them. And so, yes, at this point, though, you got to do something with the people that are left, or otherwise you're going to have the same exact problem. And so these people just aren't, and we got it off. There it is, the kick when again distracted by the referee. I think that, if they were making stuff, and maybe they're trying, maybe Dewdrop is going to go over. Liv Morgan should have gone over, in my opinion.
These guys are down now.
They're just not reading the room right to some of these people that are still left. One, two. Oh, nope, barely. I thought he got it there. Yep. So I think that's part of it of okay, we're going to see the same people in the WrestleMania main events that we've seen in, the last few years. Mix it up a little bit. Give me something I haven't seen, because right now, it's not happening. And so I think that's where I have the disconnect of, hey, let's try something new. And that's just not happening.
So you heard the Rumble did really well on Peacock. I think it was up 45 or 50% from last year. And it was the highest.
All their Peacock numbers are up. Yeah.
Yeah. Highest rated wrestling shows. So, it's interesting. I mean, I know we bag on,
Oh, and a roll up. Got him.
Here is your winner, Shawn Michaels.
So wins with the roll up. So my question to you is, should more matches end that way?
That was,
there's a surprising number of matches that end like that. And it's funny because he beat Triple H at SummerSlam previous to this with a roll up as well. And I just wonder, should we get more of those? I like it because it comes out of nowhere.
Yep.
And I like it because, Jericho looks like he just barely loses. So it's not like it's a bad loss for him. And then obviously he gets some heat back when he attacks him after the match. But I like that finish. What about you?
Yeah, absolutely. At least it is a definitive finish. There's still a lot that you can do with it, but it's way better than getting a DQ finish or something like on a pay-per-view. So you got Michaels extending his hand right now, trying to get Jericho and hugging him. Yep.
I don't believe it. I am damn
Jericho
sure
hugging
not to
Michaels.
see that.
Low blow.
Don't trust those young lions. Jericho kicked Michaels right down.
Like I said, but Jericho lost, and it still keeps him strong. And we'll talk about the feud he gets into in a second here. Yep.
Yeah. So just closing the loop, what I was saying, though, is just that the Royal Rumble did really well. And it's, I mean, obviously, I know it's easy to bag on WWE. Oh, the ratings are down, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
First of all, you don't know what NBC and Fox, USA, Fox, NBC, Universal, you don't know how they value Raw and SmackDown. For all you know, they're making money hand over fist on advertising. Remember, that's how they make money off this content, is they sell advertising. So if they're paying, for round numbers, let's say that Fox is paying, $500 million for WWE, but they're making $800 million in advertising. Guess what? It's a good deal. It's a good contract. So, same with the Peacock. I mean, for all you know, the Royal Rumble's the most watched live thing ever on Peacock. In fact, I wouldn't be surprised. I heard the Olympics are just getting killed right now on ratings.
Yeah, same here.
As we're recording it, what I heard was that, the Olympic ratings were just terrible. And I know the opening ceremonies did poorly. And, the whole thing was like a failure. Okay. So for all you know, NBC's looking at it going, wow, the WWE is a far better property for us than, the Olympics was. And so, they're getting really good ratings and they're doing a lot of stuff. So I just thought that was interesting. But let's transition over to the aftermath.
Ho! It's time for the aftermath.
All right. So what'd you think of the match?
Really good, actually. It was nonstop. There was a lot of good action. I was actually, I knew who the winner was. I didn't know how they got there. And so I was really happy. Like, I was fine with that, actually, because like I said, it was a definitive end, and that, like, the crowd is hot at this point. Like that got them going. And so,
sadly, the reason I played the music or played the sound there is because I knew the finish, because I've seen that match about 10 times because it's just one of my favorites. I feel like I watch it every year during WrestleMania season. So
yeah. And so I was
You're welcome.
I say pleasantly surprised. Absolutely. How about you?
Oh, I loved it. I love the match. I mean, again, you look at what happened there. We had Shawn Michaels, his comeback to WrestleMania. How awesome is that? Then we have the Jericho. I mean, certainly one of the best matches he had ever had. It elevates him, and yeah, I love the safe go atmosphere. So all great stuff. Loved it.
Good stuff. Okay, so what happened after this one, other than Limp Bizkit now playing? And I don't know if you still have it pulled up.
Oh, yeah.
And so,
and if I'm not mistaken, he played like 3 songs. It was like he was out there for a while, if I'm not mistaken.
He is actually, yeah. So we'll keep it on here, keep watching. So after this one, though, you kind of had the feud kind of just stopping at this point. Jericho actually going into a rivalry with Goldberg, and the two of them feuding. It was, again, the highlight reel, Goldberg, Jericho saying that, like, insulting Goldberg, really, like, that nobody wanted him in WWE, which, funny, kind of speaking for the fans nowadays, definitely speaking for me, because Goldberg's terrible. And so kind of dealing with that, you actually had Goldberg actually getting run over or hit with the limousine during this one. This was not the Goldberg deciding to slice an artery in his hand limousine incident. This is the him getting hit by the limousine instead. And so us dealing with that, which this when I was going through the aftermath, it gave me the reason to go back and watch that stupid limousine, him deciding to punch the limousine, which idiot. And so I had fraternity brother do that, and they had the same outcome. So broke his hand, but so dealing with that. So they had this back and forth. Of course, you had at the time, actually, Stone Cold Steve Austin was the co-Raw general manager. And so him trying to figure out exactly who did it. And so you had Goldberg ended up in a match with Lance Storm because Lance Storm saying that he did it, but then after the match admitting that it was Jericho who actually is who convinced Storm to run him over. And so you had Goldberg back on the highlight reel at this point. And so Jericho revealing though he was jealous of Goldberg because of all the success he had. And that he wanted, Jericho wanted to be more like Goldberg. And so you get the challenge for the match here. And of course, shocker at Bad Blood, Goldberg beating Jericho at that one. And so who doesn't love a great shitty feud with Goldberg? And so in retrospect, that one ridiculous. But this one on that, after this, Shawn Michaels kind of riding the high wave on this one. You get the Triple H, Chris Benoit, really, leading into the next WrestleMania, which, the big one. And so Benoit, of course, ended up winning that one, but a great feud, a match we will eventually talk about. Not this year, but we will get it covered at some point. So you had a rematch as well, too, at Backlash is actually, and this was kind of how this one played out, which was in Canada, in Edmonton. And so with Benoit retaining the title at that one, actually making Michaels submit to the sharpshooter. Of course, because of the screw job at this point, Michaels getting booed and the chance of you screwed Brett happening as well too during the match. And so that's always fun. So, just fine little aftermath, nothing too crazy. And so on this one, like I said, Michaels for this year, or not, 2003, Michaels coming in at 32. I feel like that's kind of high for him. He should definitely be a lot lower on that point. Jericho, number 5 for 2003. So, and then, like I said at the start of the show here, like a lot of matches ended up in the best poll match on the Wrestling Observer newsletter, which the Michaels Jericho coming in the highest by over 100 votes. But then you had the Brock Kurt match, Rock and Stone Cold Steve Austin coming in a lot lower than all of that. You had the Vincent Hogan match even getting some votes as well too here, and then wrapping out the vote, it was the Benoit and Rhino versus Team Angle versus the Los Guerreros match. And so really spreading the wealth around here, and like you said, like a lot of good matches on this one. And so the interesting writer here is, like he said, he gave this one 4.25 stars. He said, of all the people, Trish Stratus got some momentum going, and Michaels and Chris Jericho put the show into overdrive, where it largely stayed for nearly 3 more hours. Michaels versus Jericho was criticized.
Isn't that crazy, by the way? Like we talked about it, but it's confirmed. Like, because we're obviously not watching the whole show, but I mean, like, overdrive. Like think about how many of these long ass WrestleManias we've sat through over the past 10 or 15 years where something's dead.
Yep.
One of the matches is dead or there's a filler. I mean, this show literally, it was okay. The final 3 hours of this thing, there's no drop off. I mean, yeah, there was a Limp Bizkit, but there's no, bra and panties match. There's no lousy match. This just kicked ass for like 3 straight hours.
I don't remember this. Walking, I don't know if you still have it up as well too. They have the Miller Lite cat fight girls are coming out. I'm not sure what's about to happen here. We may have to add this to our list.
Oh, so maybe they did have a cat fight match.
They're on it looks like a double king bed.
This was the one it was like the Miller Lite girls or something. There was some.
Yes. Yep. And Coach is out there. Yep. With these 2 girls.
Ugh,
I don't know what's about to happen.
You spoke too soon.
Yeah, you spoke too soon. And so, okay, but the match was criticized because they put a part-timer over a wrestler that desperately needed a big win on a show of this type over a big name, since he's carrying the ball on the road. They did an angle the next week where Jericho laid out Michaels, but people forget things like that a minute later. So 4.25 stars. So Tom, I'll let you go first on this one. What thoughts do you have?
I mean, you already know what I'm going to say. I love the angle building up to this. I love the way they basically said, yeah, Jericho's a younger Shawn Michaels, emulated many of his things. Jericho's playing the dastardly heel. Shawn's back for the comeback, first WrestleMania back. So the build to this was excellent. The match was awesome. The crowd was on fire. Yeah, I mean, obviously these guys, and part of it too, in terms of like the aftermath, is they went on to have a very, very underrated classic feud, years later. So there's a lot to the story of these two. So between the match and the build and the aftermath and everything involved, I have this thing at a 9. It's not perfect, but man, it's pretty damn close and really, really, really good stuff. What about you, Jeff?
I'm going to give it an 8.5. I think that this is, like you said, like there's a lot to like about this one. And even after sitting through this one, like you said, you watch this, once a year, a little bit more than that. This could be a match when you're talking to people about like, what is going on? Like, what wrestling match do you show someone that may not be a fan? This could be one that you should show. Because there's a lot of, great wrestling, great work in the ring. And, there's nothing to complain about. Like there wasn't like, a lot of blood or anything like that. Like that didn't need this. But you said Overdrive time, and there are now 4 women ripping their clothes off, at ringside, of the top of the ramp. But yeah, I think that like I said, just a lot of really good stuff to enjoy out of this one. And so, definitely one that I would recommend people like, hey, like put it on our list of, hey, if you need a match for somebody that is not, big wrestling fan, but you don't know what to show them, this would actually be a really good one to show.
We both liked it.
Yeah, absolutely. And
this is one of the better, again, if you're going to go back and watch a handful of matches prior to WrestleMania, during WrestleMania season, this is one to definitely consider. Really, really fun match. And hell, hit play at, what was it, the 2 or 1 hour and 8 minute mark? Hit play, actually watch the vignette, the build up for this match, watch match, and just watch the rest of the damn show. Because the McMahon Austin stuff, the McMahon Hogan stuff is awesome. Austin's last match. I mean, come on. Just watch the rest of the show. So I enjoyed it. You enjoyed it. Jeff, next week, have you ever seen me cry before?
I don't believe so. No.
You might at the end of next week's match.
A true retirement match. Yep.
No, it wasn't.
I know.
But it was a retirement match.
Yes. One of many that we're used
Savage
to. Savage
Warrior, one of my all-time favorites. Love this match. Love everything about it. So we're going to cover that next week. As always, thank you for joining us. Payoff20 is our Manscaped code. 20% off and free shipping. We're at Payoff Pod on all social media. Hit us. Tell us what you like. Tell us what matches you want to see. And we'll see you next week on an all-new episode of The Payoff.